Tyrant Cool Review. Hi guys, this is my review of the show Tyrant from FX. The show ran for 3 seasons before being cancelled by FX and not being picked up yet by any studio, so we don't know if it continues or not. So for me, this show is over and I'm gonna give you my review of it. Okay, let's start with our first episode. The episode starts with Bassam, or Barry, who is apparently the son of a dictator who lived in America and married a wife and had 2 kids, and denies completely what happened to him in the past. What we learn later in the past, that his father was a tyrant and that he saw a lot of horrible things and did some horrible things, so that's why he was afraid to go back. And his nephew is getting married, so his wife convinces him to go back to that country. Sounds like a good build-up to great drama. So that's pretty much the gist of the first episode. And you see the conflict between his brother, who was raised by his father, the tyrant, and you see his relations with all his family and stuff like that. He's like the protagonist of the show. The problem is he's not very interesting. He's a very boring protagonist and you don't eventually feel anything for him because of the way he makes decisions, and you just feel like sometimes he's just an asshole. So you don't very much relate to him, and a lot of the story centered around him and how you're supposed to sympathize with him. It's funny because if you watch the show, you eventually sympathize with his brother, who is Jamal, who in my eyes is the best character in this show and the best well-acted character as well, and the most interesting development. So you're actually rooting for the bad guy in this show. I'll want to talk about first some of the storytelling in this show. Sometimes the storytelling can be very good, very shocking, but sometimes it feels a lot like filler and the text doesn't sound very believable. It's like it's in some way dumbed down, and one of the ways that you see it's kind of a dumbed down way is the fact that nobody speaks Arabic in the show. The show happens in the Middle East, if I haven't mentioned that before. It's about a tyrant in the Middle East in a made-up country next to Syria or something like that. Nobody speaks Arabic in the show. They say like salam alaikum and that's it. It seems like it's very dumbed down towards American to make them accept the show, because a lot of people think that Americans don't read subtitles, so that's why they did it. And it stops you from being drawn into this world, because everybody's speaking English and you have his son all of a sudden speaking English with Arabs like it's the first language there, instead of and understanding complicated words. I know this might be nitpicking to some, but this is very hurting the storytelling part of the show, where it's a foreign country and there are Americans there. If they use the Arabic way or explained it that they studied Arabic from their father or something like that, it would have been a much better way of storytelling and affecting how this character handled the situation. Let's talk more about the cast. Like I said, the main character, Barry Bassam Al-Faid, is not an interesting character. He makes weird decisions. He does have some redeeming factors to him that you actually relate to him in the second season, but they don't let this development go very natural. Sometimes they just try to make him look like Jesus, and I don't like that. It's not very natural where you see it. Let's talk about his family. His son, I guess, is an okay actor. Again, it's very bland. They try to give him some development during the show, and you find out that he's gay. Yeah, you might be thinking, well, you just gave a spoiler. No, you think that the fact that he's gay will be some kind of major story, but it's just his sexual preference. They don't make a big deal of it, which I think they could have used, because the Arab countries aren't very that understanding towards gay people, and they actually try to play on it in the second season, and they could have given him some kind of mini arc to exploit that, but eventually it just it seems like the writers just threw it to the side, like, we're giving up on this, and that's how it felt in the show. And yeah, it's kind of a disappointment. They could have actually made something of this character. His daughter also kind of a bland. She's like the supporter of freedom fighters and stuff like that. Very liberal. So yeah, you don't really feel much for her. Maybe towards the third season, maybe. And his wife, the worst fucking character I've ever seen in a goddamn TV show. Alright, there's characters that you hate, like Joffrey. But Joffrey, compared to her, is a well-developed character. You learn to hate him. You see his development. Her you hate because no fucking reason. She has no fucking reason behind her behavior. For example, I'll give you an example that's not a spoiler. For example, when they first arrive at the Arab country, is because she convinces him. She tells him, "Oh, we don't know anything about you or your family. I want you to go to your nephew's wedding. You have to come out and speak more." Then I think about like 5-6 episodes later, they have to stay there for some reason, and she goes to him and says, "We're here because of you." And she said it that she pushed him towards it, and it's so annoying hearing her blame him that they're stuck there, because you know that it's her that convinced him to stay there. It's very inconsistent. Now that's inconsistent from the writers, and you're probably thinking, oh, it's not the actress' fault. But no, the actress is doing a lousy job as well, because she doesn't emote any feeling. You don't get any feelings from her face. You don't get anything. You don't get hate. You don't get love. You don't get disappointment. She has a bland stare most of the show. She's just terribly developed character. Only in the third season she starts developing a bit, and even then she's very unbalanced. She's one of the most useless characters ever in a TV show. I'm serious. It's goddamn awful. Now I'm gonna talk about the two best actors in this show, and one is his brother Jamal Al-Fahid, played by Ashraf Barhom. He's a very good actor. You understand his feelings, you feel his conflicts whenever he acts. He very much steals the show in every scene he's in. He's very, very good, and he has a very good story arc going throughout the seasons. And the second one is Morana Tias, which is a very well-known actress. She's been in some movies. She's an Israeli actor, and she was very good in this show. She also very emotional. You understand her feelings, and she's very believable, and she very much fits this world. They chose a good actress, and whoever did her wardrobe did a very good job, because they dressed her very much like this world and very fitting to her character. She was very good. There were a lot of minor characters, like their son, who I didn't very much feel like towards, even though sometimes I should have. Again, not great development. So from what you can get from this review is, I don't really recommend this show. First off, it got cancelled, so you kind of left with half cliffhanger, half ending. So if some people want a closure, they might not enjoy the finish. Second, it's not a great show. The storytelling is unbalanced. Sometimes arcs feel like they're just being dropped and you're jumping from one place to another. Most of the actors aren't great. The main actor does improve during the seasons. You see the improvement in his acting. The other two best actors, like I said, Morana Tias and Ashraf Barhom, both give a wonderful performance. They pretty much steal the show, but you can't watch a show when it's centered just around them, and you see that the show isn't really centered around them. It's centered around Bassam, who, like I said, isn't that interesting and is quite bland and boring, and you can't get invested in a show centered around one character. You can't do it. There is a way that you can make the show center around one character and make the character interesting. It has been done before, like in Breaking Bad and 24. There is a way to do this, but he's not an interesting enough character, he isn't well developed, and the actor isn't that good. So if I have to give this show a rating, I'm gonna give it 4 cool stars out of 10. I really don't recommend this show. If you want to watch it, sure, but I think there's better shows on TV that you can watch that's worth your time, because this show isn't that great. Alright, thanks for watching. You can check out my other videos about movies and games. I'll try to talk more about TV shows. This is KobiCool. I'll see you in the next video.